Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that goes to the cinema every week, watches a couple of things, rates them out of 5, goes at home, stays at home, watches things on streaming platforms, rates them out of 5, puts them up against each other and sees where money has been better spent this week. My name is Tosin, that is a queer making herself heard. And I am the host, based up in a place called Bromsgrove in the middle of the United Kingdom, near Birmingham. And joining me as always on the Isle of Wight is Shaun Harris.
Hello.
Yes, and we know that we will not be having Sharon today because Sharon went to get
hairdo.
Sharon went to get a hairdo, and it was one of these things where she'd booked it 3 months ago and hadn't sort of forgotten it was on a Wednesday when we were recording this. And all I'm saying is that if you have to book a hairdo 3 months in advance, it's got to be serious. So
yeah, it has. Can I ask you something, Toes? You
yes.
went on. Is there something on Points of View or something like that?
Yeah, Points of View. Yeah, but so okay. Essentially, this is one of these things where every now and then things happen because we have a YouTube channel and people find us with the YouTube channel and interesting things happen. So I got an email yesterday saying that there was somebody from Points of View because we had reviewed a TV show called Show Trial, and I reviewed the first season of Show Trial. This must have been 2 years ago, I think 2022, and we have the review up on YouTube. And so this guy who's a researcher for the BBC got in touch and said, we saw Show Trial. Would you like to come on Points of View? And would you like to tell us about what you thought about the second one? So I actually had the interview with the guy earlier today, around about 1 o'clock. And it was essentially him just sort of telling me, what do you think about Show Trial? And me just giving my views on Show Trial. Now, as we all know, with everything that happens in TV and film and all that kind of stuff, just because you've been interviewed doesn't mean you're going to make the final cut. So... So I will find out on Friday because the episode that they're going to be talking about Show Trial is this Sunday. It's going to be on TV this Sunday. So
wow.
if I make the cut, I will be on TV this Sunday on BBC One. If I don't, you'll never find out about it. And my biggest claim to fame is that I was in the deleted scenes for an episode of Points of View on the BBC.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Hi, Holly.
Hi, Holly.
That would be an excellent claim to fame. I have been cut from Points of View.
Yeah, it's like I was once cut from an episode of Points of View. Oh yes,
yeah.
Oh yes, that is my 100% claim to fame. But we'll see. I'll let you guys know if that happens, and if it happens, I'll probably record it and clip it up, and I'll be like, hey, look, that's me.
That's you. That's
me. That's me 100% forgetting the word anthology. Yeah. Because, I was trying to say that it's an anthology show. And I was like, it's like one of those, hang on, what's the word? I just lost the word. And I've been like, the shows where every single season doesn't carry on and it's like a totally different cast. I could not remember that the word was anthology. It was so bad, I eventually had to actually Google it. I just had one of those brain things. And I'm going to blame my daughters and lack of sleep.
That's a good idea. That's a good thing to blame.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I blame my daughters for a lot.
It's a good excuse. I shouldn't say blame because that's a horrible word. I should say that's a good excuse.
It's a good excuse. Like, for instance, the recording sounds a bit chaotic. There's something going on in the background. Oh, yeah, that's my daughters.
Nah. That'd be quite good. I was thinking, so today would be quite good because we got we could do one thing because you've seen Rings of Power now, haven't you? And I watched, that's the whole series now, Holly, haven't you?
Yeah, huh?
Yeah. It was the last one. So we could do because you guys are much better. I mean, when it comes to telling the plot and stuff, I'm a bit all over the place. So it's probably good to have you guys do a bit of the plot and what you feel, and then I can just give you my feelings. I come from the heart, you know what I mean? I'm not really.
If you haven't listened to us before, yeah, that's what Shaun's talking about. Shaun is like, when I think Shaun, essentially, it's fair to say you hate it when you're the only one who's seen something, because that means that you have to do the synopsis of what the thing's about.
Exactly.
I think your favorite thing is when you and Sharon have seen something, because Sharon just comes in and gives you this lovely potted, this is what this is all about, and then Shaun goes, thank God I didn't have to do that. Now this is what I think.
Exactly, yeah.
And just fires away. It tells you what he's thinking about it. All right, cool. So yeah, that is true. That is good, and that's sort of what we're doing. Because first of all, what have we seen in cinema? There's really only one show in town. Shaun, tell us what it is.
Okay, and that is the second Joker. What is it?
Folie à Deux.
Yeah, Folie à Deux.
Yeah.
Okay, I was trying to think of the pronunciation. Folie à Deux.
Yeah.
So there's madness twice or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a shared psychosis. It's a psychiatric term for a shared psychosis. So you have Joker Folie à Deux.
Bit like us, huh?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, we're just so here. Our shared madness is that we're imagining anybody is actually listening. But okay, so but you said there was another film that you saw because there's pretty much only 2 films out in cinemas this week, and there is Joker, Folie à Deux, and you saw another one that you just missed out on watching.
What you mean? Yeah, no, I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
Yeah, no, but I mean, you saw that was in cinemas,
which was it was. The thing is, I went to see Joker on big screen. I seen it at the Odeon because I wanted to see that big screen. And then, but the other one was A Different Man. But I'm going to try and say, if I'd have seen A Different Man, which I did debate, and then come in to see, I could have on the island. Joker's on the island, so I could have watched Joker here. But I just fancied, because I was so loved the first one. Yeah. I just figured that I wanted to see it in major magnificence, if you like.
Yeah. So for those of you who are wondering what Shaun's talking about, so Shaun essentially spent his time between the Isle of Wight and Poole, and the cinema in Poole, being a university town, has a lot more options than the cinema on the Isle of Wight. All right, cool. So if you guys will just excuse me, I need to throw some chips at a baby, and I'll be right back.
Cool.
I'll be right back. But I'll tell you what, right? I'll tell you what. Let's because we only have one thing in cinema this week. Let us kick off with Lords of the Rings, Rings of Power, season 2. Okay. So Holly, do you want to tell us what that's about, and then Shaun, do your whole thing the way you set up what's going on, and then Shaun can just sort of dive in there and tell you what he thinks.
I will do my utmost. So, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power Season 2 is unsurprisingly the second season of Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, which is a series based upon the to Lord of the Rings, the Silmarillion, which was written by J.R.R. Tolkien after he'd written Lord of the Rings. It is set in the time before Lord of the Rings, with the rise of Sauron. And in the first series, Galadriel, future Queen of Lothlorien, is off doing lots of fighting of Sauron's former master Morgoth, and begins thinking that they've won, but she's convinced that it's not all over. And as series 1 progresses, you find her traveling with a man who she thinks is the king of the Southlands. At the same time, you have a very tall but possibly wise man who seems to be a bit magic in different places, with some people who are quite like hobbits but aren't hobbits. And as the series ends, we have an increased feeling that we might know who the tall man who's kind of magic-y is, but we're still not sure. And he's off trying to find his destiny with the small people who aren't the hobbits, and established that the man that Galadriel thought was going to be the was going to be the king of the Southlands and savior of everything is in fact Sauron. So we move into series 2 with Sauron is back. Elrond is around the place as well. He's got a really good friend who is the crown prince of one of the nearest dwarven kingdoms, and they are all Khazad-dûm, which people will possibly remember from the films and the books, is the Mines of Moria, and everybody's sort of getting on and doing their things. It's quite difficult to articulate that.
It is really. I think what you've got there is you've got all sort of characters that you've heard about, haven't you? Or characters that could be becoming other characters later on. And it's sort of, well, you've got characters that you haven't seen like in the movies, or so like you were saying, Ollie, it takes place before, doesn't it? And you've just got loads of characters. You've got some nasty orcs in there, ugly looking little suckers. But
the crux of it is you probably have 3 key groups going on. You have somebody who is Sauron disguised as who is disguised as somebody else who is off trying to make rings of power. You have the elves who are adjunct to this, as he is hanging out with one of the elves.
Can I just interject here? I think that actor is absolutely brilliant at convincing people. To me, he was anyway. Sorry, no, yeah. You finish.
You have a realm of men, the Númenóreans, who have various political machinations going on, trying to unseat their queen, and you've got a lot of orcs who really don't like Sauron, who has abused them in the past, and their leader, who is hoping to overcome Sauron and never see him and his orc children dragged down again. The series really just isn't a helpful word here, but we watch the progression of the production of rings of power, distrust being built between people, a lot of lying, a lot of people being corrupted willingly or unwillingly, all of which will ultimately come to a grand and exciting end in episode 8, preparing us for season 3.
I'm coming from the point of view of somebody who hasn't seen a single frame of season 1 or season 2, and part of that is because hang on a second, what's going on here? All right, cool. Sorry. And part of that is because I feel like this is a bit of a cash grab. That this is like, it was essentially Game of Thrones has ended, and Amazon going, oh, what can we do to sort of get some of that Game of Thrones dollar? So, and I hear that people complain about season 1 saying it was a bit slow and everything like that. How does season 2 compare to season 1?
Okay, well, yeah, I really, really didn't get season 1. I wasn't a big fan of season 1. It really didn't do it for me. There was a lot of issues. I had a lot of issues with season 1, and it was debatable whether I started watching this. But they have upped their game. For me personally, I don't know about Folie, but for me in this one, they've upped the game. So I think they must have taken on board some of the criticism of the early stuff, because this had me a little bit more interested than the first one, and I think there's a particular set piece battle which I think is absolutely which is what I wanted to see. Well, yeah. So
Shaun, you do love a battle on horseback, don't you?
I do. Yeah. I like, and I'm not so keen on Elrond, but I really love the chap who comes into Sauron. Really, I rate him really highly. I think he's a great actor, and he would convince me that he could, even though he was a nasty person, you could still, because he looks nice. You know what I mean? He looks nice. He's talk nice. He's all that.
He's got a lovely face. He's got a kind face.
Yeah, he has, absolutely. That you'd be a sucker. He's like your proper salesman that comes to the door or whatever, and like, oh, would you like to? And
so Shaun, what you're saying is that if you were in Middle Earth, you would be in trouble.
Yeah. So I thought they really upped their game with this one. And as I say, there's some characters that obviously are just starting off. And you actually see, and I don't think this will be a spoiler at all, but you actually got a character called Tom Bombadil, which a lot of people were upset that he was left out of the movies, but he's quite a major character in this. I'm not sure if I like him or not. I sort of do. But, so I had an issue there. I still don't like those hobbity type people. I forget what they're called. I can't remember. It'll come to me as soon as I finish.
Oh, I remember. I know. Lenny Henry plays one of them.
Oh yeah, he's not in it. He's not in it.
Oh, he did in the first season.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. There's a bonus. So, they're called something for Harefoots. They're called Harefoots or something. Harfoots. That's it. But yeah, so they annoy me a little bit. But then the hobbits did annoy me a little bit in the movies. I find them a bit
just sitting around and eating.
Like,
you're no good in a battle.
So I was a little bit more enamored with this. I was a little bit more impressed with it.
Okay, and Holly, I'll come to you for your thoughts in a second. But obviously, a lot of the first season came out around about the same time as the first season of House of Dragon, and there was a big thing. People were always saying, "Lord of the Rings, or House of Dragon." So I'll be basic and I'll ask you that question, Shaun. So, Lord of the Rings season 2, House of Dragon season 2.
House of Dragon season 2
cool.
by a mighty leap.
So Lord of the Rings, they've upped their game massively, but not massively enough to
compete.
Not massively enough to get anywhere close to House of the Dragon. All right, cool. Holly, what did you think of Lord of the Rings season 2?
I really enjoyed it. I'm going to say I wouldn't compare Lord of the Rings season 2, House of the Dragon season 2, because they're quite different. Other than falling into a vague overarching fantasy genre, they're not the same. So it's not an either or. I really liked it. I thought it built well on the first series, which I think I'd liked more than
me.
We had, but I liked the way they'd done it. I thought casting was good. I thought, the what's his face? He plays Sauron, whose name I
reckon you might have a little crush on him.
Charlie Vick.
No, I don't. That's not.
No, all right, okay, sorry.
But he's very convincing.
He is convincing, totally.
So yes, so appears so guileless. It was like, wow, you absolutely aced the idea of being somebody who could could sell you encyclopedias.
Exactly. We concur on that one then.
He's a traveling Sauron, the traveling salesman of Middle Earth.
Yeah, he's probably for me. I don't know about you, Holly. For me, he's probably the best actor out of the whole.
Yeah.
The most convincing as character.
It's a good cast overall.
It is a good cast.
They're decent as they act well. He is particularly compelling.
Stand out, yeah.
And does a really good job of not looking the same.
Yes, he does. Yeah, really, it's really good, isn't it?
Wasn't initially sure that it was the same actor.
Exactly.
So, yeah, genuinely impressed. Really liked it. I'm looking forward to season 3.
Yeah.
So how many stars are we talking?
I'm trying not to laugh at you with your headphones.
I know. My headphones. It's
noticed those. I don't notice much.
It is all going on. It's all going on over here. You have a child demanding food and drink and everything like that. You have headphones that have broken on me as I'm doing this. As I said, I said at the beginning, this is going to be a chaotic recording. It is a chaotic recording. So, but this is what happens when you try and do stuff while being a parent. But
I'm not sure. It's either a 4 or a 5 for me.
Ooh.
Go for it, Holly. If you feel that much.
I'm going a 5. I'm going to give it.
Okay. I can see that.
All right. Okay. So Holly, I know you don't want to do House of Dragon, but Lord of the Rings season 2, Wheel of Time season 2.
Lord of the Rings season 2.
Ooh.
I will never quite forgive Wheel of Time for the characterizations not being quite right.
Ooh, okay.
I started reading the books 30 years ago, so they're never quite right. They've not done quite what I.
All right, and Shaun, how about you?
For me, as I say, I hated the first one, but the second one, I felt they really upped their game, and I did actually quite enjoy this. So this is going to be one of those high 3s for me. It's going to be high 3s for me.
Good stuff. So a high 3 for Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. LOTR trop. But it's one of those things. I think it's a bit of an unwieldy title, but there seems to be quite a few of those around nowadays. Speaking of unwieldy titles, let's go to cinema and let's talk about Joker, Folie à Deux. So, okay, yeah, so Shaun and I both saw this, we both saw this, and this is the sequel to the Joker movie, and the big headlines has been, they're making a sequel to Joker. How's that going to work? It's a musical. How's that going to work? So this time round, I mean, it's kind of like, even Shaun at the moment, he's changed his background to a poster of the movie that has Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga on it as Joker and Lee. So this time round, we meet Arthur Fleck, who is the version of Joker that we're following in this series. And when we meet him, he is in Arkham Hospital. So, like, you know, for anybody who knows about Joker, about Batman law, we know that that's usually where all of Batman's enemies end up, the Arkham Asylum. But this time it's called the Arkham Hospital. And when you start off there, he's incarcerated, he's medicated, he's sort of like down. Outside of the gates of the hospital, you have a group of people who are kind of his followers and essentially big up and go, yeah, he was amazing. He killed somebody on live TV. Yeah, but he was right. And all that kind of stuff. And so you have this whole thing where he's becoming a bit of I'm going to say a bit of a celebrity, or infamous at least. He's infamous at least. And then he comes across Lady Gaga's Lee, who she's playing a version of Harley Quinn, and he meets her there in a singing class, and then things kind of kick off, and then you have like musical sequences and stuff happens, and then the whole thing is building up to a court case where they're trying to decide whether he is criminally insane and therefore cannot be tried properly, or whether he is actually just to be tried and, like, you know, sentenced as somebody who had all his faculties about him. And that is pretty much the story of this film. That's all you get. That's all you get. And it is like, essentially, if you like the first Joker and you showed up looking for, give me more of the same, they have very much not done that. They have very much gone, no, we're going to do something different. And for that, I applaud them. But I'm speaking as somebody who didn't like the first one. And speaking as somebody who, I am so interested, Shaun, to hear what you thought. Because you love the first one. You think the first one's a masterpiece.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's one of those real sort of like magic eye things where you're looking at it and one person looks at it and goes, oh my God, it's a boat. And the other person's looking at it and going, I can be looking at it for like 15 years and going, I don't see it. And that's what it is. But so, Shaun, what did you think of Joker Folie?
Okay, so the Joker, I went to see this at the iSense. I saw this in iSense, or I think the Odeon's equivalent of IMAX. Because I loved the first one so much, I wanted to see this in all its glorious splendor. And so what I'm going to say for this film is, I would say 80, possibly 85% of the film, I did really, really enjoy it. I mean, and you were saying it earlier, it was about a musical, and I really like those musical numbers. All the songs they were singing, I was sort of singing, you know, fly me to the moon, and so I really enjoyed that, and that was like going back to, I guess, older, you know, crooners and older songs. And I particularly liked the scene where they're together and like a show, you know, the Harley and Joker show.
Yeah, the Harley and Joker
that
show.
Bit there, and like the bit of but you know, with the betrayal thing, I really liked that, and so I was enjoying it. Enjoying it. And then you have one of the days in court where something happens, and it's like, okay, now we're going to get something. So his followers, you were talking about his followers before. So let's just say his followers, you know, they help him in some sort of way.
Yeah. I know this is what you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm thinking, this is great. And then what happens, and I'm like, why why? No, you got it. You got it made. You got it made. You're going to have the whole or half the city with you. It's all like that. And so I sort of was like, you know, like I get annoyed. I didn't get annoyed, and then I got annoyed because I was thinking, why would you do that? And then what happens, and he sees Harley, and you know. And so I mean, I could forgive the very, very, very end, which was okay, but just. I think what I mean is I just got really, really mega excited with that particular scene and the thing, and I was like, oh great, now they're gonna set it up for a third one. So now he's gone there, and they're gonna set up for a third one, and then it's gonna become a bit like, you know, to me, that's so. I think I was a little bit deflated at the end. So I was a little bit deflated. A shame, but it was very brave, and I could understand. And maybe one of the other guys at the end, I mean, he had a demeanor of a sort of.
Well,
you know
yeah. There's stuff going on there, and I think
there's stuff. I believe that there's stuff going on because, but basically, I guess the story was about Arthur Fleck and his delusions and going into a fantasy world and all that. So you've got to look at it as though, for me, I don't know if I can say that, it's not the Joker as we think of the Joker.
Yeah, well, it was always set up to never be the Joker that you think of. It was always set up to be like it's. And I think the one of the things I actually thought about this film is, I started thinking back to it and thinking, hang on a second, but if you think about this film didn't even have to be called Joker. Quite frankly, no. It didn't even have to be called Joker, because if I think about the first one, it doesn't really do anything jokery. It doesn't. No. It uses that as a jumping off point, and then it does its own thing. It is so divorced from anything comic book. It's so divorced from anything else. Yeah. This film, if you watched it and it wasn't called Joker and you didn't know anything about the Joker, you wouldn't realize that this had to do anything with Batman. No. I mean, I feel like even the fact that it was supposed to be in Gotham, but the city that they have is obviously New York.
I think actually in one of the jury scenes when they were dressing,
one of the things they do actually say the Court of New York. Yeah,
so I always thought, but
it could essentially be a film out of that. It could be something out of that. So
I think what I liked so much in the first one was the reasoning behind it. And when I watched that first one, and it was when with the cigarette ash just going right to the very end and all that, when he's talking to the councillors and that gets taken away and all that from the first one.
Yeah.
So I liked all that. But yeah, so I think with this, I enjoyed the film, but it sort of deflated my bubble. You know the bit I'm talking about, don't you, Toast? Yeah, probably.
Oh, I think I know the bit you're talking about. It has to do with the courthouse, right? It has to be with the courthouse.
Yeah.
Where something happens that's a little bit convenient. Well, the first thing is I got on better with this better than I did the first one. Which is not to say that I liked it, because but then again, this is the film, right? Where I feel like it's almost designed for you to not like. I feel like it's designed for you to not like. There were bits, and the singing, quite frankly, I know why they did it the way they did it. The singing is not supposed to be that attractive or anything like that. Like it's and these are people who can sing, but they've done it in such a way that it's just kind of like, there's some bits where I feel it works and some bits it doesn't work, and some bits where I feel like they try to do the musical thing half and half, like 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and I feel like go to one or the other. So I feel like the musical numbers work a lot better when they are very, very obviously in his head.
In his head, yeah.
When they're very, very obviously in his head, I think that they work better than when they try and do this whole thing where there's like, is it in his head? Is it in the real world? Is this actually happening? Is it not? There's one scene where there's a fire. There's a fire, and I just spent the whole thing perplexed as to, is this actually happening? Is this not happening? And it felt like when you have a student film and they do stuff and they go, is it happening? Is it not happening? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it is. Oh, what do you think? And that annoyed me. That really annoyed me.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, because the film ends on the final thing over the credits, you have Joaquin Phoenix singing as Arthur Fleck. And one of the ushers in the cinema walked past me and he just went, "Oh, listening to Joaquin Phoenix's stupid voice." And that was just the sound of frustration of a man who has heard this over and over and over again. Yeah. And I can imagine, because after a while in the film, I have to admit, I was waiting for it to end. I was kind of like, okay, you've given me your bleak vision of the world. I know it's bleak. I know all that kind of stuff. Waiting for it to end. I was like, and then it got to a point where when they would start singing, and I'll be like, oh my God, they're doing it again. But then halfway through the song, I'll be like, okay, now it's working, but the beginning isn't. So it's, for me,
it's a tough one, isn't it? It's a tough call on this one, because it did have its moments.
It had its moments.
As I say, the stage bit where you think it was in his head, especially that, I really enjoyed like it was the Harley and Joker show.
Yeah, but the thing is, and I think it had its moments. It's one of those things you can see that it's well made, but I just wasn't enjoying watching the film.
Fair enough.
And for me, and this is the thing that because it's over 2 hours, right? There is an animated sequence in this film. And for me, that is the best bit of the film because the animated
I didn't like that. I didn't like that much.
The thing is, I like the animated sequence because I felt like the point that the animated sequence is trying to make, it actually has a point, and it gets a point across in 5 minutes. That I think the remaining 2 hours of the film, I'm like, what was the point of that? I really don't know what the point of that was. So it's one of those things where. I'm happy to not see another Joker film in this vein.
I don't think you will, but
I don't know, man.
Unless there's the
I'll tell you what. The only thing that makes me think that I might not see another film in this vein is that this film is not doing that well at the box office.
No, it's bombed, isn't it?
Well, that's what they're saying. And it's because the first one made over $1 billion, and this one is not doing anywhere close to that. But then again, I feel like they almost deliberately made this film to not do that. This film, right. I feel like there's a bunch of people who love the first movie because there is. Let me put it this way: there's a problematic core of people who love the first movie, and those are the kind of people who probably have signed out the second they heard it was a musical.
Yeah.
And so so that might be the reason why I don't see another one. So all in all, it's one of those things also I can see that it's well made, but I don't particularly like it. so I mean, I think for me, I would give it a 3. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've given it a lot of thought, and I did enjoy it. I didn't mind. I wasn't like bored or anything. I did enjoy it, and I did enjoy the songs, and I was actually singing along to the songs. I know that sounds so I quite enjoyed
No. I was with you on that.
Yeah. Little bit let down at the end, and I don't know whether that was. I don't know. I mean, that was particularly brave, and maybe there's a passing of the torch. I don't know, but I suppose on the whole, thinking about it, because of that letdown, I'm going to just give it a high 3. I'm going to give this a high 3.
Yeah.
High 3. I think because I don't think it's as bad as some people are saying it is. I think some people have just got it in their mind that it's not the first one. So let's. But I was a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, but I feel like when it comes to Joker, we come from different points of view, and the fact that even though we come from different points of view, we ended up in round about the same mark. I think it tells you a little bit about this film. This film is going to be divisive.
That's a good observation there. Yeah. So we both similar. As I say, that's a great observation.
Yeah, because like my favorite bit of the film is your least favorite bit of the film.
Yeah,
the things about it that you like. What was that, Holly?
Fails to overwhelm either of you.
But Shaun came from a point of high expectations. I came from a point of low expectations. So it's like
maybe it's
meet in the middle.
Yeah,
it achieves what it meant to do, but probably not the way it meant to do it.
No. This is the weird thing. I think it does exactly what it means to do. I actually think that I feel like the filmmakers, I think Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix. Oh man, good. Anyway, I think that they made the film. They did exactly what they wanted to do, and they were successful in doing exactly what they wanted to do. And it's up to you whether you like it or not, or whether you think it makes sense, or whether you think it's worth your time or not. I come down on the thing where I think it was good. I don't particularly think it's that worth my time. I'm still not entirely sure what it's trying to say. No. But hey. Anyway, that's it. 3 stars for Joker. That's what we said. And I think that is everything for what we talk about. It's kind of obvious who has won this week, Netflix or cinema. But but I just wanted to say one thing. There was something there's a couple of things I've watched recently that I have decided I don't think I can. I don't want to review in any one of them individually because we talk about sometimes how the rom-com is dead and how the rom-com just seems to have been shuffled off to streaming platforms nowadays. And I saw in the background you can hear somebody demanding more chips who has been keeping me up at night, which means that every now and then I just sort of say, okay, I just need something to watch. And I have watched 3 films that are pretty much the same film. They're pretty much the same film that have just been done. And this is Tickets to Paradise with George Clooney and Julia Roberts, Anyone But You with Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell, and Mother of the Bride with Brooke Shields and Benjamin Bratt. And these films, they are pretty, essentially, it falls into this subgenre of beautiful people in a beautiful location in the run-up to a wedding. Shenanigans happen, and it's in a very, very predictable thing. You know what's going to happen. You know who's going to end up together. You know that the thing that means that the lead couple are bickering at the beginning of the film is so flimsy and could have been sorted out by somebody having a chat. But they're going to try and draw this thing out for like 2 hours, and then in the end, you know they're going to get together. And it's just fun. It's just kind of one of these things. I just look at it going, there seems to be an appetite for these films because they keep making them and they keep pushing them onto. But I just think it's weird. I just think it's weird, and I think all those films are pretty much essentially. It's kind of like, imagine if you had the same film, but each film focused on a different person. One of them focused on the parents of the bride. One of them focused on the best friend. One of them focused on that kind of thing. But it's yeah. Holly, have you seen any of them?
I have seen Ticket to Paradise.
Okay, all right, cool. That you don't have to watch any of the others. They're pretty much the same film.
That was what my feeling was, that I didn't need to see them because I was fairly sure that I had in fact therefore seen them.
I'll tell you what I think is funny though. Anyone But You was the biggest hit out of all of them, and I think it's the worst film. I actually am happy that it did well. I'm happy that Sydney Sweeney managed to sort of pull it together as a producer and all that kind of stuff, and get more clout in Hollywood. But honestly, that film is just so badly put together. The first hour just kind of like, will something please happen? It's just a whole bunch of like unrelated scenes going on. But anyway, I'll just sort of say, if you see any film that has well, essentially, if you want to see any of these films, see one of them, you've seen all of them. They have almost exactly the same beats, almost exactly the same thing. They're all either in Thailand or Australia or somewhere lovely with a beach. And that's just, it's just like a formula. It's like a formula they just crank out. And they're good enough to sort of pass it in, and I will give all of them a low 3. All of them.
They're like a Hallmark destination wedding equivalent.
Do you know what's funny with the genre of film? It's like John Wick. When John Wick come out, there's just so many John Wick knockoffs, loads of them. Do you know what I mean? There's not just one. There's like hundreds of John Wick knockoffs, and I think with the rom-coms, you have one success, and it's like, oh, let's have another rom-com.
Yeah.
There are so many women who return from the big city to their small town.
Is that like about Catherine? Is that like Catherine Cookson sort of syndrome?
It's very much like Catherine Cookson. It is the hallmark classic of a small town girl who's been in the big city and done really well, decides to return to the small town, and then ends up staying in the small town with the boyfriend.
Some lumberjacky bloke in a lumberjack shirt.
Hey. I will not have a word said against Sweet Home Alabama.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I love Sweet Home Alabama. Oh. That is at least a slightly
heightened.
I prefer that to me. It's not a Hallmark film.
Yeah. But this one is kind of like we get 2 stars. We put them on the beach, and we find some extremely flimsy and extremely easily reconciled thing to do. Although I'll tell you, out of all of them, Brooke Shields and Benjamin Bratt in Mother of the Bride was not terrible. I was expecting that to be absolute dross.
I have to say, I enjoyed Ticket to Paradise. I thought it was dross, but I thought it was enjoyable dross.
Yeah.
It didn't do anything fancy or clever. It surprised me not one jot.
Yeah.
I could have predicted almost everything that happened in it, but it was delightful.
Honestly, it's so the same film as Mother of the Bride.
But you can just stick it on in the background, and you don't need to think about it, and you've got some beautiful scenery and some attractive people existing, and you're just like, that's nice. Here's some attractive people having a nice time or a fight. I don't know.
One scene where they get together and they get to talk about what really went wrong between the two of us, and then he goes, "Oh, we're going to sort it out," and "Oh no, but there's going to be like a nice little road bump right before the end," and then "Oh, let's get married." Although Mother of the Bride is kind of crazy because like, "Oh, let's get married," but we're at our kid's wedding, because in Mother of the Bride the whole idea is that her daughter ends up getting married to the guy, to the son of the guy who broke her heart ages ago. Yeah. And because the parents are still going to get together, you're like, "Oh, that's a bit nothing wrong with it, but it's a bit weird." But anyway,
I'm going to have to go, guys. I'm afraid I'm going to have to take off.
Okay. Anyway, Shaun, thank you so much for hanging out with us for long and hear me complain about rom-coms.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay, man. That's okay. I understand.
Next week, and the next week, when hopefully you get to see a different man.
Yeah, hopefully I will this weekend. And if there's something else out, I'm sure there must be something else out that's out. So
we'll see. The schedule's a bit weird nowadays.
See what happens.
But it's a good buy.
And then I'm off to Thailand for 2 weeks. So.
Oh, well, Shaun, if you go there with Julia Roberts, you can reenact Ticket to Paradise
or
I'll try and Mother of the Bride.
Shall I do an imaginary one shall I do it a bit impromptu where I imagine she's there?
That makes it better than kidnapping Julia Roberts. I think it's illegal.
I think I told you once, years ago, when I was in Los Angeles, I didn't like talk to her or nothing, but I actually saw Julia Roberts.
Oh yeah,
in a restaurant. Yeah.
Okay, so Shaun,
but I don't like her much.
Shaun, tell you what, you can film yourself. Film your half of a conversation or imagine a conversation with Julia Roberts, and I will edit you into any of these films.
Okay. All right, guys. I'll see you later. It's lovely to see you.
Later, Shaun. Okay, bye.
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 Okay, in the meantime, it's a goodbye from me. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll hopefully speak to you next week. Bye.